Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video that's a little bit different. I haven't done like a sitting down talking to you guys in a while, and I'm sure based off of the title of the video you already know what I'm going to be talking about. My coming out story. Anybody who's been on my channel, who has been subscribed to me for a while or recently, or if you follow me on social media, or if you just keep up with my life in any way, shape, or form, you would know that I don't really like to label myself, but I have been in relationships with girls and I have never really been in a serious relationship with a guy ever. This is actually a requested video and it's something that I've been wanting to do since I started my YouTube channel, but it was never like the right time. I never felt like I was done growing, and I still don't feel like I'm done growing. I feel like you never really are, but I think it's something that's super important to address and it could really help somebody. This is just gonna be my story. Also, sorry if the lighting gets a little weird. It's kind of cloudy, so as the clouds are going past, the lighting changes. Also, if you guys see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. I wrote out like a few talking points that I want to hit on as I'm speaking so that I'm not just rambling forever. And I don't know why this video is making me uncomfortable. I don't know, it's not really something I talk about often. It's just kind of like my life. I've been gay for so long that like I don't even think of it as like a thing, which is whatever, that's a whole thing besides itself. So I guess I'll start by letting you guys know when I first knew that I liked girls and how I even started thinking that like, oh wow, I could be gay or like whatever. I was actually in 4th grade, which is much younger than a lot of people start to like have these kind of ideas. One of my closest friends, she knows who she is. She might even watch this, who knows. She ended up telling me that she liked me in 4th grade, and it was so funny because I swear, like, she might not even remember this, but I literally remember this like to this day. She actually told me that she liked me and another girl. It was on Facebook. It was super weird, but we were really good friends like in school. I had never like thought about her in that way until this moment. I had never really thought about girls in that way at all until she told me that she liked me, and I was like, okay, hold on, what's going on right now? So I didn't answer. I literally sat in my room, my little 4th grade self, and just like thought about it. And I was like, oh wow. What felt like hours, it was probably a total of like 20 minutes. I ended up responding to her and I was like, oh, I think I like you too. So I was basically just like going based off of like how I felt being around her. I really enjoyed being her friend. I worked really hard to become friends with her. Elementary school, crazy time, wild, so much drama, but I really enjoyed spending time with her. I really liked her as a person, yada yada. So I swore up and down that I liked this girl, and I really did. Her and I actually, after that moment, we started dating, whatever that means, in elementary school. Okay, so I'm realizing I should have probably went into like a little bit more detail here. It was more like we would go on dates like with our family. So like one time, I think our very first date was like her family was going to the zoo, so I went with her kind of thing. We would like hold hands and stuff, but it was like cute, like it was like a friend thing. Like nobody really had an idea because we were so young, so we were just like two besties holding hands. And then I would like tell my parents that I wanted to go sleep at her house, and like vice versa, and we would kiss. But that was it. Like that was the extent of it. We weren't doing like age inappropriate things. Just throwing that out there. And we were actually on and off from like 4th grade to 7th grade. Okay, so I was very boy crazy. Like elementary, middle school, I was really boy crazy. I liked boys. I thought they were cute, but I had never been in like in a relationship with them. I kissed boys. I just never was like, it never went further than that. And I was left and right looking for girls to like talk to flirt with online. I was like flirting with girls through like Facebook and just like talking to girls that went to like other middle schools. I was kind of all over the place with girls, but like with guys it never really went past like a very superficial level. Like I said, like that time in 4th grade was, once it was like in my head, it never left my head. So let's talk about how my mom and my stepdad they were the first persons to find out. I was writing a letter to not the girl that I liked, but one of my best friends. And I was writing her a letter about how I liked this girl who was in our friend group. I was basically coming out to her, and I ended up never giving her the letter. Instead, I ripped it up and I threw it in my trash can. That was probably sitting in my trash can for maybe like a day or two, and when I got home from school one day, or I got home from a practice, or I don't know what, my stepdad ended up going in my trash can, seeing that I had ripped up something, and he put it back together, but obviously it was still like pretty illegitimate. Like, he couldn't really read what I was saying. It was a bunch of random pieces that he was trying to puzzle back together. They call me downstairs and they're like, do you have something to tell me? Obviously, like, I'm ripping up this piece of paper. I'm clearly hiding something. I don't want them to see it. I don't know what. So they basically like reverse psychology me, and they pretended that they knew what the letter said when they actually had no idea. I'm like frozen on the stairs and I'm like, oh, nothing. And then my stepdad's like, okay, so what does this letter say? And I'm like frozen, stuck. Like, my mom is staring at me, my stepdad's staring at me, and I'm like, that I'm bisexual? Because at first, like, that's what I was coming out as, is bisexual. I knew I liked girls, I knew I liked boys, so I was just, you know, whatever, I'm bisexual. They literally like flipped. Like, my stepdad was like, what? My mom just started crying. I don't really remember much other than that like exact moment. I just remember him telling me that I was so confused and that I didn't know what I was talking about, and where did I even learn that from, and what was even going on. My mom was just crying. Like a weird time. I wasn't allowed to have phones. I wasn't allowed to have social media. Like, the only interaction I had with my friends was at school. Yeah, that was when that happened. At that point, everybody in school started finding out there's no such thing as loyalty in elementary and middle school. So it was really rough, because like, kids that age, like, they're not trying to be empathetic. They're not trying to understand like where you're coming from. They're not trying to be accepting it or do any of this. So at this point, probably like 6th and 7th grade were really difficult, because there was Ask FM, which I'm sure if you're around my age, you know exactly what that is. It was this huge craze where everybody was on there. You can ask people things anonymously, you can tell them things anonymously. Basically, you could write whatever you want to whoever and it would be anonymous. I got like a very bad brunt of it in this time of my life. So online, people were constantly telling me to kill myself, that I wasn't actually gay, that I didn't actually like girls, how ugly I was, all this stuff. And I'm sure that like the people who were doing it were people that I was supposedly like friends with, and there's like a reason I'm not really close with any of the people that I used to be. Quick little background story. So I was actually born in Florida. After my 2nd grade year, we moved to a small town called Katy, right outside of Houston, Texas. And we lived there from the time that I was in 2nd grade up until the end of my 7th grade year. After 7th grade, we ended up moving back to a town in Florida called Melbourne. It's about an hour east of Orlando. And yeah, so that's that little background story, just in case anybody's confused on like, okay, this is when she was living in Texas, where does she live now? Yeah. After my junior year of high school, well, during my junior year of high school, I ended up moving out of Melbourne and moved back down to Miami, Florida with my grandparents, and that's where I graduated high school. So that's that little confusion if anybody doesn't know where I've lived throughout my life. This was all while I was living in Texas. So at this point, I was living in Texas, and I was just like so badly bullied, like online. It was it was really bad. Like, kids are mean. I don't mean to laugh when I'm talking about this. It's just something that's so uncomfortable for me to talk about, and I've never really talked about. I don't think cyberbullying is funny. It's something that's such a huge issue in today's day and age, and it really affected my life back then. Like, I genuinely felt like I had no friends, and the friends that I did have, I didn't feel like they were genuine at all, and it really did take a big toll. And I think it was kind of like the first time that I started seeing issues with my mental health without really recognizing that it, like, what mental health issues were. And it definitely not a funny thing. am laughing because it's uncomfortable to talk about, like genuinely. Thumbs down to cyberbullying. Okay, keep watching the video. She ended up like, people found out about her, but once people started finding out, it was like a lot of drama. And she was basically like, no, like this isn't me, this isn't worth it. Like whatever this is, it's not, and it needs to be cut. Like because she was so like publicly ridiculed, and like a lot of people didn't want to be friends with us anymore because of what was going on. Like she like basically backtracked and was like, no, yeah, yeet, that's not me, like I'm not gay, like chill out on that. I was like, on the other hand, like, oh no, like I am, like this is me, like whatever, I'm not gonna like hide from it. So it was really difficult to, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like it was difficult to like be intimate and like emotionally intimate with somebody who like in public was literally saying like the complete opposite. Was like, no, like screw this, screw you, like no, I don't have nothing to do with Serena. And it was like really difficult, and I got bullied for a really long time, up until after I moved. I got into like my first kind of real relationship in 7th grade, whatever that means. And we were together for like a year, maybe. I was cheated on, and it was with a girl. And then I was in another long distance relationship from the summer before 8th grade until the end of my sophomore year of high school. And that's kind of when the rest of my family found out. And before I start talking about how the rest of my family found out, I want to talk about like my experience when I moved schools. Summer going into my 8th grade year, and that's when I met my ex, who you guys probably know who she is too. She was around when I started making my videos, at the very beginning of when I started making my videos. So she was there throughout like that whole process. I actually didn't come out at my new middle school for that entire year. I didn't end up coming out to people until like high school, because I didn't want to be known as like not only the new girl, because it's such a small town, but I also didn't want to be known as like the gay new girl. And it was so clear how like so many people started treating me differently after high school, after they like found out. And I would hear like people would come up and tell me how like certain people like didn't want to change in front of me, like in the locker room during PE, because I was gay, and that they didn't want me looking at them. Like so much like petty things like that caused me to literally have no friends at my old high school. I had like maybe a solid 2 friends because nobody was really gay like in this town, or at least like open and like out about it, before I had moved here. But then going back to how the rest of my family found out, I was with this girl for 3 years, and I think the only people I told directly were my grandma on my dad's side and my dad, and they were just like, we already knew. And I was like, what, how? Like as a very femme presenting like woman, I'm constantly told like, oh, you don't look gay, like this and that, which are things that are not true, but it's how the society perceives you. So I was just confused as to how they knew, but they did, and there was no negative reactions there. The rest of my family just found out through social media. I used to post my ex on my social media. All my family has me on my social media, and so that created like a very easy way for me to come out to the rest of my family. Before conversations were like directly had, it would always be like an awkward like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? I'd be like, no, I had a girlfriend. And it was like really comfortable with the rest of my family. Being that I'm not close to a lot of my extended family members, I didn't really care about anybody else's opinion, but I was grateful that if they did have opinions, they never expressed them to me, because at the end of the day, it wouldn't have changed like who I am. So last time I brought up my mom, my stepdad, they were crying and upset, and they thought I was confused. That lasted for a really long time. I kid you not, that probably lasted until I got with my most recent ex, who I was with for 2 years. So mind you, like being in a 3-year relationship, because it was like long distance, and because we weren't together as often as I would have liked, or as often as we would have liked, in my parents' eyes, I was still like confused. I didn't really know what I wanted. And also like in between dating people and being in like these long-term relationships, or like being on and off, like I would jump back to boys. It was almost like comforting in a way, like at that point, like, I was just really hungry for like attention, and boys really weren't giving me attention. But I would like never really do anything with them at all. It would just be like a matter of like talking to them, and that's why my parents swore that I was confused. Here I am today. I'm in a relationship with a girl. I have a video with her, so she's been there for a while, and I'm still like at a point with my sexuality where I'm not really sure like 100% like what I would label myself. I don't really like to label myself. I have had intercourse with guys and I've had intercourse with girls, and I've never been able to build like an emotional connection with a guy the way I have with females. It's just different, and so I don't really know how to explain it. I don't really know what's going on there, but as of right now, like, I'm so comfortable with my sexuality. I'm thankful that I live in an environment where it's so accepted, and I'm so grateful that like my family at this point is 100% accepting of who I am, and this is the decisions that I make. They choose to support me 100%, and I really appreciate that. It sucks like so bad when I hear about like stories of people coming out and like their parents just like not accepting them and kicking them out. Like, my heart really resonates with them because I was fortunate enough to kind of be forced out when I was really young. So I never had to deal with like the anxiety so much of coming out. I guess that's my full coming out story. Coming out to my peers and my classmates in school was way more difficult than coming out to my family. I was bullied so much because of it, but I wouldn't change it to this day because it's honestly shaped me into the person that I am. I can kind of deal with like anything and don't really care what people say about me or people's opinions about me because like I know who I am and I stay true to myself. But that is it. If you guys have any more questions about my coming out story, if there's anything else you guys would like to know about like sexuality, the spectrum of sexuality, I'm here at your service. I don't really have an issue talking about things like this. I actually enjoy talking about things like this because I feel like it helps other people who are in the closet or just going through difficult times with their family because of these topics. I would love to just be there for you guys if you guys need words of encouragement or even just somebody to just listen to you while you vent. Yeah, I know this was a little bit of a different kind of video, but still I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on all social medias at sarenajade with 2 E's after the end of Jade on Instagram and Twitter, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.